Hey guys, welcome to my grade 6 book list for my son who is going into grade 6 this year. Every year I give my kids a list of books that I would like them to read, and then I have a few that are like, you need to read these, and then the rest are like, I think you'll enjoy these, check these out. And so this video is for my son who's going into 6th grade. He really likes fantasy. He likes humor. So a lot of the books on this list are, actually they're mostly fantasy, but then I also have a few books to push him out of his comfort zone a little bit, books that I think he'll like, but he wouldn't pick up without that push. If you're interested, I have, well, lots of other book lists here on this channel, but a couple years ago my daughter was in grade 6 and she more preferred contemporary and hard-hitting. So her grade 6 list looked a lot different than his will. I often get asked how I encourage my son to read so much. He is a very active 11-year-old boy. Like most boys his age, he does not like to just sit and read a book. He likes to be physically moving, and the secret here is audiobooks, audiobooks, audiobooks. At the same time, there are some books I want him to sit and physically read, but he will be doing the Good and the Beautiful language arts this year, and I know he will be sitting and reading a bunch of those books. So for the most part, the books on this list, I'm okay if he does on audio. There are a couple that he will need the physical copy because the physical copy is so amazing. But otherwise, audiobooks is the key because they can do Lego while they're listening, they can build something else. He's always moving in some way while listening to a book, and his vocabulary is amazing for his age. I'm always impressed. I'm like, whoa, he just like uses all these words in everyday language that I don't hear other kids his age using, like positive words I'm saying here. So he might not get to all of these books. There are the ones that I really want him to get to. I'll maybe start with those. I have a couple nonfiction on here that I'm going to make him prioritize, I think. So the first one is The Faithful Spy. I should have grabbed my copy, so I will lay some flip through of this. This is one he needs to read physically because it's like almost like an infographic novel story. It's the true story of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, but it's told with a lot of pictures, and this is something that I think will really keep his interest. I read this book last year, I think, and was very impressed with the format. And then coming off of that, there is also one coming out by the same author, John Hendricks, coming out this fall. It's called Myth Makers. Yes, that's what it says. Myth Makers. And this is the story of Tolkien and Lewis. And I haven't read it yet because it's not out yet. But assuming I read it and it's good, I also want him to read it. And that will be another one where I feel like you're gonna need the physical copy of that. So those are the only two nonfiction on my list. I also would like him to do some Christian heroes books, but I don't know which ones he's all read, so I might talk to him and we'll see which one he wants to, one or however many he wants to include as well. Then okay, there's one, I don't think I only have one true historical fiction on here. Usually I put a bunch more on the list and he doesn't read them anyway, and because he's reading a little bit more like classics for actual school stuff, I didn't want to push him too hard this year. So my one nonfiction is When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. It's another book that I read in the last year, and it is based on the author's true story. I think it was her story, about her family during the time of World War II. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a really good, different kind of look at World War II because they left Germany and then I think they moved to Austria first because her father was in the newspaper business, I think, and was speaking out against the Nazis even before World War II started. And it's their story of kind of going to a few different countries, and our main character has struggles but it has a really good attitude through it all. I really enjoyed it. Okay, diving in to mostly fantasy here. The Girl Who Kept the Castle. This book just came out this month and I read it and I think he'll really like it. It's about a girl who lives in a castle. It's kind of obvious from the title. And Wizard West is the wizard of the castle, and right at the beginning he dies, but he doesn't realize he's dead, so it's like his ghost is going through the castle, and everyone that works there doesn't want to tell him because he's known to have a little bit of a temper. And so they draw straws, and this girl is chosen to be the one to tell him that he's dead. And through different events, they start a competition to see who's going to be the next Wizard West. And like, it's a series of unfortunate events in many ways. Like, everything that can go wrong really does, but it's funny but also deep, and I think he'll really, really like it. Then we've got The Lost Library. This is about a little free library that opens up in this town, and our main character through the whole story is trying to figure out a couple mysteries that kind of are around this little free library. And this book surprised me. It had a few twists I did not see coming, and I really enjoyed that. It's another one that I think he's gonna really like. A non-fantasy that I do think is out of his element, but I found it to be really good, so I want him to read it, is Song for a Whale. This one is about a girl who is deaf, and she finds out about a whale that doesn't sing the same frequency as other whales, and wants to create music for this whale in the frequency that it hears. And I thought I knew where the story was going to be going when it, like, partway through, and I was like, oh no, not another one that goes this way. And it didn't, and it surprised me. I think it will be out of his normal comfort zone, but I think he'll end up liking it. I asked my older daughter what she would put on this list for him, and she said Wish Makers. This is a fantasy story of a kid who finds a genie in a peanut butter jar. I read this one because my daughter loved it so much right around this age, and she wanted me to read it, so I did. And it's like completely ridiculous. It's something my son would totally like. I know that he started it one time and didn't get it. I don't know, he didn't want to try. I don't know the reasoning, but he needs to try again because he will like it. It's completely ridiculous. Like, there's a character in there whose name is Jathan, like not Jason, his name is Jathan. And like, there's some weird things. And then now we have like these inside jokes between me and my daughter because of this book. Oh, this one is also not, okay, there are a few other ones that are not fantasy. We're going a little bit deeper, and The Labors of Hercules Beale. So this is a book by Gary D. Schmidt that came out last year, I think. His books are really hard-hitting in the best of ways, and I think this might be a good one for my son to start with. I'm not sure. It's about a boy whose parents died in a car accident a couple years ago, and him and his older brother are running a tree nursery, and lots of stuff goes on. It's heavy. There is hard themes, but I think it's really well done. One that I haven't read that I kind of want him to read and then tell me if it's a book I should read is The Mona Lisa Vanishes. I think this is just completely fiction about the Mona Lisa. It might be a true story. I didn't actually read it, like the description, but I know some people that have read it and really enjoyed it. So I think this one was listed if a kid, you're on Goodreads underneath, you know, other people also read, I don't know, some of these other books. And I know a bunch of people that have liked it. I don't really know what it's about, if it's about if the Mona Lisa vanishes or when it vanished, but I kind of want to have my kids proofread my middle grade books for me, because I feel like there's some middle grade books that are just for kids, some that adults enjoy, and so I want to know if this is one I'm going to enjoy. Then we have Book Scavenger. Now, we did read, I think, just the first book together as a family via audiobook a number of years ago, but I think it was so long ago, he was so young, I don't think he caught most of it, so I think he should reread that now. And oh man, I always say I wish this was a thing. Book Scavenger is where people leave clues and they've hidden books in different spots, and I just love that. I know there is a website and some people have done it, but I wish it was more of a widespread thing where you would just have clues and be searching for books all the time. That sounds like a lot of fun. Then we have The Improbable Tales of Baskerville Hall. This one, I think it's like got some Sherlock-esque character, and this is one of those ones where there's a lot that gets revealed, so I don't even know how much I can say, but our main character goes off to boarding school, and I think it's not quite what they expected. At first you think that you are just reading like a boarding school story, and then you fairly quickly realize that there is definitely some fantasy going on here. This book definitely had some Harry Potter vibes to me without feeling like it was ripping off Harry Potter. And since he has enjoyed that series, I feel like he might enjoy this one. I've only read the first book, so that's generally what I tend to do with books, is just read the first one. And I think that is all of them. I did not go in order of my list, but I think that's all of them. If you guys have a kid or you yourself have liked some of these books and have some other recommendations, leave them in the comments. Even if my son has already read them, maybe it will help somebody else out who's looking for similar type books. And I will be back soon with a much shorter list for my 9th grader, but a much heavier list as well.